Now, I remember the first time my wife went to her first rehabilitation facility. It was a detox rehab facility. And the reason why I tell this is because the motivation behind going to a rehab facility should not be the reason that my wife went. Now, she went because she had just gotten her first DUI a couple weeks beforehand, and she was very scared about the prospect of having to go to jail or fines or just having to go to court, essentially. And she had talked to a lawyer, and the lawyer said, well, it would look good if you went to a rehabilitation facility, which is never the best motivation. You should be going because you want to change your behavior in your life, not to make it look good to the court. And that really tended to be her motivation. She didn't drink for about 10 days after the DUI, and I've made videos on that particular DUI, but it became a motivation. I remember having the conversation with her, okay, it's time to go to a rehab, and she agreed. So I did have a little bit of an intervention in saying, this is really affecting us now because you're bringing legality into the situation. She didn't drink for about 10 days, and then she started up again right after getting that DUI. As traumatic as it was, because she did get arrested, she was in jail overnight, and then she started up again 10 days later, and that's when I intervened and said, it's time to go to, you got to go to a rehab. Very, very scary, because we were scrambling to figure out how to do that. I remember I made a lot of phone calls, and then she did a lot of the work too, and I was very proud of her at the time because she ultimately found a location that she wanted to go to. It ended up being in Palm Springs, which was a little over an hour from where we live. I really tell this story because I know so many families don't really know what to do, where to go when this situation arrives, and they do realize that their family member needs to go to a rehab facility. Well, insurance covers it, and luckily my wife and I at the time were insurance brokers. I had a lot of insurance through my corporation, through some companies that I work for, but anybody that has healthcare insurance, we're talking about United States at least, it's covered underneath the mental health care side. And I think their deductible was like $300, and the actual cost is somewhere between $30,000 and $35,000. So you don't want to pay it out of pocket because you don't have to. Get insurance if you don't have it. It's worth getting just to get your loved one into a rehab. Now, with that in mind, when they do go, they have to be going for the right reasons. They have to go because they want to change their behavior. They need to bond with people inside there, and they really need to delve into the core reason of why they're drinking to begin with. And I think this is when Amanda really was able to start delving into why she drank. And this is when the trauma of her childhood started coming out. And for the first time, she began sharing that with me. And I go over it in her memoir. But when she was 16, she had a boyfriend, and it got a little bit too serious, and some other things happened, and her family essentially broke the two of them up, and they sent her away to an all-girls school about 500 miles north, and she was kind of expunged from her family, and it became very traumatic for her. I remember when I first met her, she would cry on my shoulder about this event that had happened at that point 14, 15 years earlier. And it was a catalyst for her, and it's a big part of the reasons why she began drinking and why she went down this road. And it came out in the rehab facility. So there were some good things that did happen from going to that facility, but unfortunately, the motivation for going there shouldn't be, it looks good to the court so that you can get a lesser, penalties, lesser, situation when the judge decides what's going to happen with you because of your DUI. And really, one of the most important things about rehab facilities, and families need to understand this, that going to a rehab facility isn't like, your loved one isn't just going to go there and everything's going to be fine and they're going to be changed and life will be hunky-dory after that. No. To quote Winston Churchill, it's not the beginning of the end. It's not even the beginning. It's the beginning of the beginning. And that's really what a rehab facility is. It's a Band-Aid. It gives the family a break. It gives the alcoholic the opportunity to work on themselves. They have a separation between themselves and the alcoholic. And in my foreword of my memoir, I really talk about this because I think this was Amanda's downfall ultimately, because the aftercare when she got out of a rehab facility, she just didn't follow up. She didn't go to the group meetings enough. She didn't take it seriously, and she ended up finding herself in the same spot in just going over the same behaviors that she had always done, which was go back to the alcohol. She just would go right back to her routines, and she was never able to break that spell. Understanding that as a family member is when they get out of that rehab, it is the most crucial time of that person's life. And that's when they need all the support, and that's when you really need to become a manager of that alcoholic in your family. You need to be like on top of them. You're going to a meeting tonight? Yes. Okay. I mean, you need to kind of be like that if they're in your life, and that's the situation, because they're sober, they've been sober for a little while, and you got to get them in the right direction. I mean, and that's all you can do as a family member, is just check up on them and how's it going, and let's review what the meeting was over, and make that part of your daily conversation. And really, above all, the alcoholic in your family has to meet you halfway. They have to be willing and able and have a desire to go to a detox rehab. I mean, you got to start somewhere. And again, that's not the answer for everybody, and I know it's not, but it's certainly, from a family perspective, having that 30-day break is huge for families, because it's a family disease. And it's not always just about the alcoholic. It's also about the family members. And everybody needs a break, including the alcoholic. And it's a good place to start. And again, I do point out, my wife did go to 7 rehabilitation facilities, and ultimately she fell down a flight of stairs in her 7th rehab facility. A very horrible way to end. And I really go over it in her memoir. It's called Amanda, A Cautionary Tale of Alcoholism. It's the story of her life and our life together with our son, and all the ups and downs. It's an important story because it's from the perspective of the family. It's available on Amazon and my website. You can go to my Linktree. You can purchase it right off my website, Linktree website, and the button's right there. It's also on Amazon for the hard copy. Again, I go live Monday through Friday, right around 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 9 o'clock Eastern. And we also have the Facebook group. It's called There's an Alcoholic in the Family. When you're ready to work with me one-on-one, again, click on the link tree in my bio. Set up a breakthrough call. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour. We do a deep dive into what's going on with you and your family. And the call is free. The course is definitely not. But I'm looking for people who want to change their lives and the lives of their family. And again, thanks so much for listening.